All right, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. The Fever lose 77-83 to the Mystics in Baltimore. Sad way to lose. I'm sure many of you not feeling great about how that game ended. And I think that perspective is important. We are 5 games into the season, and the Fever have lost their best player, the league's best offensive generator in Caitlin Clark. If the Aces lost Asia Wilson, they ain't winning a single game. The Fever showed some promise in the first quarter. Third quarter was rough, but our defense actually hung in there. And then the fourth quarter, we actually even outscored the Mystics, but it wasn't enough down the stretch. And there are some things that we do need to talk about for the team and in areas for improvement, but there were some good things that happened. I will be having 2 deep dive videos that are coming out, one for offense, one for defense. They should come out later tonight or tomorrow morning with some actual play breakdowns. And if you want to see those, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe to not miss those. But with that said, let's start with the good. Let's start with the little uplifting parts of the game. And that is that DeWanna Bonner got her groove back. I told people coming into this game that she will sneak up on you. She's going to have those 20-point games. This is an opportunity where she's not the 5th option on the team. She can get some reps, get some shots, get a flow. And in this game, she was spectacular. She shot well, was one of the best shooters of the night. She played great defense, getting steals, being an absolute menace. And I would love to see her get more touches, especially in the Sun game, because I think that she can actually facilitate part of our offense, mainly being that she is a very tall player, which means that the angles to which she can get passes in is very helpful for the type of game we want to play. Caitlin Clark's two-woman game with Aaliyah Boston is predicated partly on that Clark, not only is she the best passer in the league, but she's also a 6-foot guard. Sydney Colson, a 5'8", is not going to be able to make the same amount of passes in those different 2-man sets as someone like DeWanna Bonner might be. And you saw some of that passing in this game from DeWanna Bonner fighting Sophie Cunningham. She didn't finish, but she got the foul. And just overall, I love DeWanna Bonner's effort. So big win, at least for this game, seeing her come out and get some confidence. Now, Aaliyah Boston shot great when she did, played awesome on defense, 2 steals, 3 blocks, doing everything she could in this game, but she got 5 shots. And 5 shots to win this kind of game is not enough. We need to get Aaliyah Boston the ball. We need to feed her. We need to build an offense around getting her the ball on the block, whether it's down low, whether it's up top. The amount of times we gave her the ball for her to just pitch it away and for a play to die was far too many. And Stephanie White's going to need to fix that up for the next game. She's going to need to get with her team, and they need to build. I mean, there's a lot of stuff we're going to talk about offense. We'll get to an offensive section in a little bit, but man, that was just rough to watch. Dantas actually had some good hits, shot good, had some good defensive moments. Kelsey Mitchell was a tough moment. Just, I think her quote in the post game was she couldn't hit water with a rock in the ocean, like she just was way off. We can't, she shot 25%, I think. And I think part of it is normally with veterans, the game slows down, but for her, when she's getting the ball, it feels like the game's speeding up for her. She looks erratic. When she was driving across the defense and she would do kick out passes, she's like barely handling the ball. It's like so sketchy. I'm getting so anxious just watching her do that. She also just had some not great passes overall, just in general. So shot selection, decision making, just not quite there for Kelsey tonight. She knows she's been off this game, the last game. So hopefully expect her to come back and get some strides. She hit some shots down the stretch, but just wasn't enough. It was too much of a detriment, especially with Clark out. It's just so hard when you're shooting so poorly from the 3-point. It's just hard to shoot yourself back into a game. Hall was great. Hall and Timpson were the only 2 players that had positive plus minuses in this game. Hall playing far more amount of time, being very scrappy on defense, having a tough offensive night. But Michaela Timpson, 22 seconds, 1 rebound. Give her more time, please, for the love of God, because we just got destroyed on the boards. The Mystics were so much better. They had 12 offensive rebounds to 6 offensive rebounds. It was not a good night. And it was tough because a lot of it felt like lack of effort. There were times where everyone's just kind of standing around, and then like Brittany Sykes is coming out of nowhere and getting a rebound, just ripping it away from us and getting 2 points. You can't have those moments in close games or at this level. You can't. You have to be constantly have a motor. You have to have that fire under you. And that was a theme that was really plaguing us down the stretch tonight. Is it just looked like the team lost their edge for tonight. Natasha Howard, was a little bit of her offense early, struggled on defense, had 5 turnovers. That gets you benched. Only had 17 minutes tonight, and that's rough. Now, offense overall, the good. We can talk about some good things. We shot over 80% from free throw. Hey, that's an improvement. The problem is when that's one of the only redeeming qualities of your offense for the night. I am sorry, but there are so many moments in this game where the ball is not moving. The ball is sitting in people's hands. There was one play that I could not believe my eyes where we set like 2 or 3 screens for Lexi Hall to drive around, get stopped, and then do a turnaround jumper. Now, she made that jumper. It was one of the few shots she made tonight. But what are we doing? How is that the offensive play that we're running? Like, why is that what we are dialing up? And props to the Mystics for playing good defense on Aaliyah Boston. But again, she's touching the ball. We're getting her the ball up top on the perimeter. And for some reason, like, she's not keeping it. And we're not finding any other way to get her the ball. And we're just making bad passes to try to feed her. And it was rough. There needs to be more ball movement. We need to have offensive sets that make sense, that we're trying to get the best shot instead of a shot, because there was too many times where it's just one player's holding onto the ball and we're taking a shot at as the shot clock's running out, and we can't do that. We can't do that. Which leads to another big point, which is, again, who is kind of running the offense. And I think Sydney Colson, to her credit, probably got a C tonight. She didn't get an F, she didn't get a D, so that's good, but she wasn't great. And again, there's just options that you can't run with her bringing the ball up the floor. Instead, we should have, I think, someone like DeWanna Bonner, someone like Sophie Cunningham. Even if Sydney brings it up, we need the offense to run off of another player that can make more passes, that can create more looks, that can threaten offensively, because taking out Caitlin Clark, who's the best passer and threatens you deep, is a big shift in how your offense runs. And in this, it's very apparent that we couldn't feed AB, and things just kind of stagnated. So I think we need to shake it up. And I don't care if she brings up the ball or she has stints where she is going and starting initiating the offense. But man, do we really need to run our pick and rolls with other players in mind so that we can threaten more things. And I think DeWanna Bonner, with her size, is probably one of those players. She can threaten the three, she can pass, she can drive. She does a lot more than I think that we get from having Sydney Colson drive that part of the game. Now, one of the biggest problems with the offense tonight, the glaring, just like stab you in the eyeball things that goes, this is bad, is we had 0 fast break points. A goose egg. It was, that is not Fever basketball. Transition offense, 0 transition offense. I mean, part of that comes from bad rebounding, poor defense, but also they burned us. They had 11 fast break points to our 0. Like, we can't be doing that. And a lot of it is Sonia Citrod breaking out, leaking out early, getting full court passes and finishing. And she did over and over and over again. And we have to know our personnel. You talk about it a lot. The Fever talking about it a lot. Kelsey Mitchell talks about it a lot in post-game press conferences. And I would really like us to stop talking about it and actually do it, because Sonia's been doing that every game this season so far. She leaks out, she goes on fast breaks, they pass a full court to her, she gets buckets. Sometimes and ones, pretty fairly often. She had a tough shooting night tonight. Speaking of good things for our defense, we actually did a really good job of making her life hard, and most of her points were off of those fast breaks. She was 0 for 4 from 3. That's actually good. Now, we're talking about a rookie, but if you said that about Caitlin Clark last year, we were like, Caitlin Clark we held her to 0 for 4 and she only got 13 points. You'd be like, oh, that was a good night against Caitlin Clark. Similarly, like, we actually played her pretty well. Brittany Sykes had a tough time. We made it really hard for her to score, especially early. She was getting frustrated. Now, she has a lot of volume and she got a lot of points off of that. But, I mean, the things that carried them through this game were were making tough shots or players playing out of their minds. Like Lucy Olson hitting back-to-back threes. Shakira Austin looked like Asia Wilson for part of this game in the first quarter and then disappeared. Aaliyah Boston just shut her down in the second half. But in the first quarter, she had like 13 points. She was making turnaround fades. She was making everything. And when you keep Aaliyah Edwards in check, when you keep Sonia in check in this team, when you frustrate Kiki at one point was complaining to the refs mid-play. She like stopped doing the play and was complaining to the refs because Aaliyah Boston was just working her. Like, those are the type of things that are good to see. However, when you don't rebound, and importantly, when you're letting fast break transition points happen that shouldn't be happening, and you're making foolish fouls, I think Sophie Cunningham and Sydney both had 5. Aaliyah Boston had 5, although some of them were not fouls on Aaliyah Boston. Like, you're going to kind of lose these games, these kind of games. And ignoring the heroic effort, the effort from the Fever defense, that was the real tragedy of this, because there were moments where the Fever looked like traffic cones. The Mystics were just driving around them. There was no help defense. People are standing there. They're watching rebounds. They're watching people go by. And you can't win games like that. And even Caitlin Clark was getting on the team about their defensive play and not having that fire and not having that energy. And that can't be. That can't be at this level. Despite all the other circumstances that you can talk about, come up with, that's unacceptable. So I'm sure Stephanie White's going to get with the team. I'm sure the team is upset with themselves. They described it as getting punched in the mouth. They did get punched in the mouth, and we're going to see how they bounce back. And the Sun is a game to get your groove back, to get your confidence back, and we'll see how they look, how they form. And last, the last thing I will talk about in this game, which drove me up the wall, because I love Lexi Hall, and this is not a negative against Lexi Hall. Lexi Hall got drew 5 offensive fouls in this game. Stephanie Dolson is going to have nightmares tonight about Lexi Hall. She's going to like turn around. Lexi Hall's going to be there. She's going to fall over and like a ref's going to come out of the ether and blow the whistle. And like that is how well Lexi Hall played against the screen game with the Mystics. However, Mystics were quick studies, and the refs wanted to call, I guess, like a consistent game all of a sudden. And they called so many offensive fouls on us. I think it was like 6 or 7, and it really destroyed our flow. And we got a taste of our own medicine, and I did not like it. It was bitter, and it made me bitter, and it was just so frustrating because there was one on Aaliyah Boston that was absolutely not a foul, and it just sucks when you get these kind of just possession-ruining plays that don't let you catch up and get back in the game. We kept trying to make a little bit of a run, but struggles with offense, struggles with effort on defense, it just wasn't going to happen tonight. Even though we outscored them, ultimately in the fourth quarter, it was like 24-23. That's not enough to come back from the hole that we kind of dug ourselves into. So with all that said, I think that there are good things to take out of this game. I think there are good things for the development of this team to get through this 4-game stretch. I think they can beat the Sun tomorrow, especially if they buckle down and we see the effort and we see more offense generated for them, because there are good defensive moments, but we just need the effort on defense. We need to keep that energy up. We need to not make silly fouls, and we need to see them leverage the players that are playing well now and get the ball into Aaliyah Boston's hand. For the love of God, please, someone. Then I'll be on Caitlin Clark Tech Watch to see if Coach CC gets a foul, because she was close to this game. With all that said, let me know your thoughts down in the comments. What did you think of this game? And remember, I'm going to have 2 other deep dive episodes coming out soon. I promise that's actually going to happen this time. I have the time. Got crazy house stuff going on, so I haven't been able to do it the last few games like I wanted to. But this time it will happen. I'm calling my shot. I'm calling my shot for this one. But remember, as always, you're going to be amazing today because you are amazing. And I'll catch you next episode.